after every Arkansas Razorback basketball game. And, it's always tougher when it's after a loss. And this is certainly another heartbreaking road loss for Arkansas. In fact, you look at the back-to-back home wins over not very good. Obviously, LSU and Ole Miss are in the toilet in the SEC. But Arkansas need to get back up off the mat after losing 5 of its first 6. But if you go back to the previous game, Arkansas's last road game at Missouri, heartbreaking loss. Arkansas gives up a late 10-point lead. We saw how the Missouri Tigers lived at the free throw line. And this has been a theme that's played out. We're going to talk about all the positives and negatives from this game in terms of what Arkansas did on the court before losing 67-64 at number 17 Baylor in the final Big 12 SEC Challenge. But one thing we know are the free throw disparities in the second half. And this loss, the way it ended, felt a lot like that Missouri outcome. And Arkansas fouls. There's no doubt about it, Arkansas fouls. But second halves of games, man, you go back to Alabama at home. You then look at Vanderbilt on the road. You look at that Missouri game on the road. You look at this game. So 4 of Arkansas's last 6 games, teams are shooting double-digit margin differences in free throws attempted. It's outlandish. After battling basically evenly in the first halves of games at the free throw line, that's what Arkansas gets into. I think Arkansas had a possession early in the second half where it picked up 3 or 4 fouls on one possession. Jordan Walsh got back-to-back in like a second of floor time. And so I'm going to complain a little bit about officiating. I do. I think Arkansas, when you look at the way Arkansas plays, only 14 attempts from 3 in this entire game. We know one of them came at a desperation at the buzzer when they had to have an attempt. So 13 up into that point. Arkansas shoots over 51% from the field, 27 made field goals with 16 assists. So the ball's moving. You had some one-on-one from Ricky Council early in the game to kind of keep Arkansas in it after they fell behind by 11. But after that, I thought Arkansas did a really good job of distributing the ball and getting some looks. But you attack mostly inside. The other team shoots 18 threes, has only 5 assists. That team that's shooting 30% for the game, Baylor was held to 20 of 59 for 33.9%. So there's a team playing one-on-one basketball, yet gets rewarded with a bunch of calls. Contact at one end. I'm not saying those weren't fouls on Arkansas, but where is it at the other end on a team that is bigger and is playing around the basket and getting to the basket and not settling for as many threes and playing a game that way? When the ball's moving and you're racking up 16 assists and you're plus 12 in points in the paint, that's what Arkansas finished, 34-22. How is it that you shoot only 11 free throws the entire game, only 4 attempts in the second half, all of those coming in the final minute or so? Arkansas doesn't get into the penalty until the very end when it benefits Baylor to give a hip check to avoid a 3-point shot. We're going to talk about Arkansas's decision on the prior offensive possession not to look for a 3 late in the game, instead settling for a 2 to cause another foul free throw situation where there just wasn't enough clock left for Baylor not to take that foul and give you 2 free throws instead of a chance at making a 3. So I'm going to criticize the coaching there a little bit on that decision. I was thinking at the time they need to go for 3, and there wasn't enough time left to go get a 2 and then try to play it out by drawing the game out because you didn't have enough clock. But having said that, I'm going to get back to the free throw line. Baylor shoots 11 more in the second half. Credit the Bears, 21 of 24 overall for the game. That was outstanding. Arkansas was 6 of 11. I mentioned that. So, one team is shooting 87.5% from the foul line. Arkansas just over 54%. So you can hang some of that there. Arkansas was awful in the turnover game again today. -7, 15-8. Baylor only converted that for a +5 in points off turnovers, but they still won that category. Arkansas's defense did a great job. This is the number 2 rated offense in the country. When you look at KenPom.com's adjusted offensive efficiency, number 2. And Arkansas basically, again, you hold this team to just under 34% from the field, 33% from 3, 6 of 18. Arkansas did an excellent job there. Teams used to making right around 10 threes a game, so limited Baylor that way. And this was at the free throw line. Yes, the turnovers had a part in this. Arkansas not converting enough. Even still, Devo was trying to make the first free throw to make it a 2-point deficit with about 2.3 seconds left. He missed the front end of that 1-and-1. The ball was tipped out. Arkansas did a good job of tipping it to the corner where they knew Pinion would set up for a three. He was deep in that corner, probably a step to the right in that right corner, further than he would want to be. He didn't have a clean straight line at the basket. And so his shot did hit the backboard and ricochet away from the rim as time expired. Arkansas loses by 3. But I'm gonna keep beating this drum about the foul calls and the free throws. It sounds like an excuse. There's no doubt this team, Arkansas, fouls, has careless fouls, stupid fouls. But you can't tell me a team that passed the ball as well as Arkansas did, attacking the paint and getting drives to the rim from guys like Ricky Council, Anthony Black, Devo Davis, Arkansas's bigs on rolls, in other scenarios where they got around the basket, and you can't get more than 11 free throws in a game where the other team is basically playing one-on-one. So that tells me there's a lot of bailout whistles from one team. 5 assists for Baylor in a game and only 33.9% shooting from the field. So there was a lot of bailout. Otherwise, those field goal percentages look a lot worse for Baylor on its home court. So I give a lot of credit to Arkansas's game plan. The team still struggles to finish games. It's not all at the feet of the officiating, but I do think it's so lopsided that it must be addressed. Now I'm going to move on from that. I talked some about the turnovers. Fast break. Arkansas hung in there for a while. Baylor was better in the second half in transition. Ends up with a 10-5, doubling Arkansas up in transition. Arkansas actually, other than being plus 12 in points in the paint, I thought did an outstanding job. Baylor's a really good offensive rebounding team. And they were plus 5 in offensive rebounds, plus 7 in second chance points. So that played a little bit into it. I thought Ricky Council today, got his offense going. This was a good matchup for him because I didn't see defenders on the second and third levels able to close on him like we see in the SEC. We know he can get by the first guy, but he really has struggled. And then when Baylor did close, he made some tough double clutch shots and did some of the stuff we saw in non-conference. 25 points for him. I think Eric Melsman's probably going to be disappointed with as big as Ricky is at that wing spot. Only 1 rebound in this game, even though Arkansas both teams finished with 35 overall. It's a draw there on the offensive glass. Arkansas got hurt there, and I think they expect him to hit that defensive glass a little more. But offensively, 10 of 17 from the field, made all 3 of his free throws, 2 of 4 from 3. That's not really his game, but he did convert 50% there. Devo Davis with an outstanding defensive job rotating on the big three guards for Baylor that came into this game. We know what their accolades were. We knew what their stats were. And Davis did a great job on defensively, had 5 turnovers. Those hurt Arkansas. He was 2 of 7 from 3. He made some big plays at times in this game, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But again, probably when you look back at the previous 5 games of what Devo was doing, this was a little bit more reminiscent of some of his, 2 or 3 turnover games are better, obviously, than 5. And so, Devo had toned that down just a little bit, and I thought today got a little bit high on the turnover meter, for Arkansas being on the road and trying to pick up that first road victory. Certainly, he's one of the reasons Arkansas had a chance to win that game, so we're not going to bang on him too much. Anthony Black, not an offensive game for him when you look at scoring. But he 6 boards, I think, had 3 assists. Devo led Arkansas assists. I think he had 4. You saw Jalen Graham come off the bench. It was a mixed bag with him. He got 9 rebounds to lead the team, had 4 assists, but only 2 of 6 from the field. He missed some close range shots. 0 of 4 at the free throw line. That's a killer. 2 front ends and 1-and-1s, by the way. So you missed 2 free throw opportunities. Arkansas also gave Baylor in the first half 3 chances to make 1 free throw on a lane violation. And the big for Baylor, after going 0 for 2, the second one didn't count because of the lane violation. He knocks down the other one. So in a game like this where you're trying to scrap out a win, it's little things. I thought Arkansas's turnovers outside of the free throw disparity, which sounds, I know you don't want to blame games on officials. I'm not saying that's why Arkansas lost. I'm saying it is a huge hill to overcome and to climb when the disparities are that large. And I do think the turnovers in concert with the fouls becomes the movie we've seen so many times before in these losses. The fact that Arkansas had leads at Vanderbilt by 10 in the second half and blew that. Up 10 late against Missouri, that went away. Most of that was full-on free throw shooting at the end for the Tigers. And then today, Arkansas went back up 4, led by as many as 8 to start the second half. When it went back up 4, in a stretch where Baylor then turned it around with a 10-0 run to go up 6. Arkansas chipped away with a 9-4 run with about 18 seconds left. They were down 1. And the decision to go for 2, that was the other thing. I think Arkansas, after free throws were made, I think it was around 10.7 seconds left. I need to look at my sheet here. But after free throws were made by Baylor, to go up 65-62, Arkansas crossed midcourt, took a timeout with 8.8 seconds left. And then they set up a play out of bounds with Devo curling to the basket. And there was a little hesitation move he made that chewed up a little more clock. I think he was trying to draw a foul on the backside while he went up. But they weren't calling whistles for Arkansas. That was part of the problem. The other part of the problem was that took away half of your clock. It was too soon at that point for Baylor to foul to keep Arkansas from taking a 3, and I thought it would be a good time for Arkansas to try to get a 3-point shot to tie the game and get it to overtime. Instead, they did what they did. They didn't have any more timeouts after that either, which also hurt matters because now you're in scramble mode trying to get a 3 up with the clock running out. So I'm going to question the coaching decision making in that. I felt like that was the wrong move at the time it was happening, not after the fact. I felt like that was the wrong move. But I do give Arkansas credit because it did give itself a chance with a 3 to tie the game at the end. You'd rather take a 3-point shot out of your offense than you would hoping that you get a tip off a missed free throw to the exact spot you need it with only 2 seconds left. Because if that ball sprays out anywhere else or your guy's not in the right spot, the clock runs out on you. Don't even get that shot up. So, Arkansas, if Pinion can hit that, they're going to overtime. But I think Arkansas should have taken a 3 and worked for a 3 prior in the prior possession. This was a disappointing loss. I really do think the Mitchell block call that should have been a charge was what changed the game. 5-point swing and Musselman's technical. That hurts. You know that your team's not get to the free throw line in second halves of games, and the other ones are just marching there over and over again. The last thing you want to do is to send him there with emotion. We know Musselman's an emotional guy. He's a fiery guy. But that 5-point possession, whether the call was wrong or right, that hurt. That hurt in a game like this. When we look over the past, even in Musselman's first season in close games, second halves, he's gotten away from himself, with some heat that's teed him up and teams convert, and now it adds to your problems. So, I'm going to nitpick on that. I didn't like the technical foul at all. I understand how Musselman is and how he reacted. That didn't help matters at all when this is the one thing that you cannot give teams when your defense is playing the way that Arkansas is today. The last thing you can do is afford to put a team like Baylor at the free throw line. That's a good free throw shooting team. It's one of the best teams in the country at getting the line and making free throws. Can't feed into that. In opinion, someone had a comment about Pinion. I need to follow up on that. This game's not on Joseph Pinion. He didn't have a significant role in this game. He comes off the bench cold at the end of it to take a 3. And he's a guy that's helped Arkansas, with the ups and downs lately. Arkansas doesn't have an SEC, maybe only has one SEC win, if not for Joseph Pinion against Missouri and then Ole Miss later. Missouri at home for the first SEC win and then Ole Miss. Silly turnovers are killing us, no doubt about it. Hope Pinion doesn't take it hard. He's a shooter, but he's been watching the game for 2.5 hours. Exactly. Pinion comes in cold. I mean, you like your odds with him over 90% of the roster, maybe greater than that. Just about anybody right now with Nick Smith Jr. still out. By the way, the color commentator for ESPN today, Fran Fraschilla, made a comment during the game that even though, Nick Smith Jr. is back with the team, he doesn't think that he's going to play again for Arkansas. That's an opinion that's out there. People, there are various people on the record and off the record that are saying things to that nature. However, I continue to state that he's still working to get back with the Hogs. If that was an outcome already decided, there's no way he'd be 1,000 miles away getting ready for the NBA draft. So in fact, he is working to get back to 100%. To rejoin the team in a competitive way. But I thought it was interesting that Fraschilla said that because he basically, point blank said, I don't think he's going to play again. I think he's done. And just recently it was Jimmy Dykes doing color for an Arkansas game, saying he was 2 weeks away. And what I'm told is 2 weeks away would be a best case scenario. When Jimmy said it, it kind of left it on the table as a specific or a definitive time frame. I don't think it's definitive. I think that's a best case scenario, and that's a fluid situation. In 2 weeks, maybe that's the soonest from that point, which would be now about 7 or 10 days from now, might be the soonest point that they would reevaluate things to see if there's a chance to come back at that point. But it doesn't mean that there'll be a comeback at that point. But again, I find it interesting. Dykes 2 weeks away. Francella says, nah, he's not coming back. But again, I still think he's working toward that. And I still believe that that's his goal, and we'll see what happens. Arkansas sure could have used him, not only being without he and Trevor Brazile throughout SEC play to this point, has just been a killer for Arkansas. The Hogs have now lost 6 of their last 9 games. They finished the Big 12 SEC Challenge all-time 4-5. They never could win on the road. They took care of home court 4-0, now 5-0 on the road. This is a Baylor team that Arkansas dominated back in the old Southwest Conference. Since Arkansas joined the SEC, this was, I believe, only the 4th matchup, and Baylor's 3-1, including the last 3. We know what they did in the last meeting 2 years ago in the Elite Eight, beating Arkansas on its way to a title. I honestly think if this game's played in Fayetteville today, Arkansas wins this anywhere from 8 to 12 points. I think Arkansas is the better team, and I think, again, somehow I don't know what the look is for Arkansas when it attacks the paint as much as it does and has success going to the basket, that there aren't more whistles and Arkansas is not shooting free throws. That, to me, it just doesn't make sense if you're calling all the touch fouls and ticky-tack fouls on the other end that lead to a lot. So if Arkansas is not going to get that benefit, it's hard to understand the way Arkansas plays relative to all of these different teams, how those teams seem to. Again, 2 things can be true at once. Arkansas commits silly fouls. Sometimes they're just out of position or reaching, not very savvy at times. But other teams aren't perfect. I'm looking at the other end, especially in some of these replays where there's no calls, and there's a ton of physicality, checking bigger Arkansas bodies, trying to get to that rim. And I'm back to it. If there was anything to me today that stood out more than anything else, it's the free throw disparity in the second half and the overall in the game and the foul calls. And you can use that same case in several of Arkansas's losses in SEC play before they won back-to-back games. Again, it's not the same thing as saying, well, the refs are the reason why Arkansas lost, but man, it's played a big part in it. I missed that one. Something about Walsh fouls. I'm not saying they should swallow whistles. I'm saying either call it. No game should be called necessarily the same exact amount of fouls and the same amount of free throw attempts. Refs getting briefed to watch Walsh for fouls before every game. Sure, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff coaches and players talk about. Players in game, coaches in game when they're complaining. All of these things are brought up, but again, there's no guarantee that both teams are going to have the same amount of fouls called, and all the free throw amount totals have to be even. That's not realistic. But the disparities are so huge, and when you look at the way Arkansas plays, this isn't a team playing a finesse game behind the 3-point line. It doesn't make sense. So it's very strange. And if Arkansas hits free throws, they might have won. True, they were 6 of 11. And if they get anywhere close, so they shoot 13 less, more than half a difference than what Baylor gets. So again, it's true. Arkansas miss opportunities to not just hold a lead, but when it gets behind, it misses opportunities to close better. There's some stuff on Arkansas there for sure. I just think it's such an uphill climb on the road when you're getting to the line. Arkansas gets 4 attempts in the second half, basically in the final minute now when they're trying to climb back into a game. So, that's really hard to do. And so it's not an anomaly at this point. It's not an outlier. It is a theme game in and game out. And with all of Arkansas's other problems with turnovers, which they were so much better against Ole Miss and LSU, back to not so good today. When you look at all the other stuff, really you can boil it down to free throw line and all of this. Officiating has become so disheartening to young players, hard as for fans too. kicks us out of the first round. Arkansas is still going to be projected a tournament team coming out of this game. I do think Arkansas, the net, I don't know how much it's going to backslide. This is not a game that hurts your resume in terms of backsliding in net. Arkansas probably gets a little boost in a sense. It doesn't fully offset it, but Oklahoma winning so big at home today against a ranked Bama team. Missouri beat Iowa State, a ranked team at home, and right now, you have to worry about teams like Missouri passing Arkansas up in pecking order. They probably do after today when you look at projections. There's still a lot of basketball to be played, but Arkansas's, they're on a fast track for being a bubble team. I'm not sure they're there after today, but they might be, and they're on a fast track to it soon. And so, you get A&M at home. That'll actually be a quality win if Arkansas can turn around on Tuesday and win at home. That would be big. Arkansas needs to put this behind them and get back to close to 500 in league play. That would be their third consecutive win in the SEC if they can do it. And then you go on the road for South Carolina the following weekend, a week from today, which is huge. That's a huge opportunity to pick up the first road win. That's not a very good team. Arkansas is not a very good team on the road now, 0-5. This was a big opportunity for Arkansas. If Arkansas wins this game, it's a second quad one win. They're 2-4 at that point in quad one. Now they're 1-5. It's the first road win, but they would be 5-5 in all games away from home. And both of their quad one wins at that point, had they beaten Baylor, would be away from home. The other one was at a neutral site against San Diego State, by the way, who was also ranked 17th at the time Arkansas beat them in Maui. So there was a lot of missed opportunities here. I mean, the feather in the cap of going 5-4 all time in the Big 12 SEC Challenge, that would have been nice. I mean, there were some things I pointed out in my article, but this is not a death knell. But man, this was a huge missed opportunity, and there's really not a ton of quad one games coming up. Opportunities. Arkansas does go to Kentucky 3 games from now on the road, which would be a quad one win, but you're back on the road. And all bets are off when Arkansas goes on the road, especially with the whistles the way that they are in second halves of games. It's been astonishing, the difference. And then at the end of the season, you're on the road for Bama and Tennessee. Those are quad one win opportunities, but you're on the road, and then you get Kentucky at home. Kentucky's going to have to be ranked inside the top 30 in net at that point. That's the last regular season game, but they'd have to be in 30 or better for that to count as a quad one result. If Arkansas is to beat Kentucky at home in the regular season finale in early March. So there's not a ton of quad one opportunities that aren't on the road, and we see what this team does on the road. They've got to get that figured out. Muss should start Graham. I don't know, man. I don't know if I agree with that. I'm not saying you can't put him in the starting lineup. From that standpoint, I can agree that that's an option, but I don't know that he's put him in the starting lineup and leaving there. I'm not sure that's what you meant because you didn't qualify it or clarify it, but I don't know if I agree with that. I thought Graham did some good things today, but I thought he also hurt Arkansas at times, especially at that free throw line. Well, I missed that comment. They're coming in pretty fast. Look, this is an Arkansas team. Like I said, 6 losses in 9 games, but they, there's some, I mean, I'm not into moral victories, but Arkansas at Missouri and at Baylor, 2 very difficult places to play, had their chances to win at the end. We couldn't say that at Vanderbilt. They really didn't. We could say that at LSU. So Arkansas has just got to figure out a way. Yet to see Muss's presser, but I wonder what the demeanor is like. Sometimes, like the loss versus Missouri. Yeah, I mean, Muss wears his emotions on his sleeves. He's either really high and up when things are going well. He kind of flatlines after a loss or 2. And then when things get ugly, like they have really in January. I mean, Arkansas's 3-6 in January. He can be, he sometimes doesn't even make eye contact with during the pressers. He's kind of looking down. And so, look, I mean, you're going to take, with the way Eric Musselman handles things is part of what makes him successful and drives him. And so you got to take some of this stuff with that. And so whether you judge it harshly or not, I don't as much. I think the technical foul, I'm going to judge that pretty harshly, though. I just think you just cannot do that. You have not won on the road. You can't get to the foul line on the road, and you certainly can't afford to put the other team on it. Not as good as Baylor is. I mean, there's just no way to say, I mean, it happened. I mean, it's not why Arkansas lost, but it's a part of it. That played into it. Your defense has played so well in this game, and you just can't give anything away. And so, but yeah, I think Muss, he's, I haven't seen the post-game press conference. I've got most of my story written. It's up on Hogville.net. I hope you'll go there and look at all of our content for all sports. Haven't seen the big change in the starting lineup like we did last year. Is that going to happen? You know, yeah, Arkansas did go on an 11-0 run after the technical foul. And I'm sorry, that happened in the first half. I keep saying second half. But you can't give the other team free throws. Arkansas did go on that run. They took a lead. Arkansas went up by as much as 6. But again, I say it. Your defense is playing so well. Would you rather have a technical in the first half than second half? And I did misspeak there. I'll grant you the first half than second half, and I did misspeak there. I'll grant you that, but I just don't think with Arkansas's free throw problems, especially on the road, that you give anything to anybody. You dig in and you continue to make them earn every little thing they got. They already got a bucket on that possession, and they were going to shoot a free throw for the and one, so you gave them 2 more. Again, Musselman reacts to things. I don't see, honestly, even though Arkansas had a run there and overcame it at that moment, I don't see historically where Arkansas has necessarily fared well after technical fouls in the final outcome. It's not to say that's why Arkansas lost today. I will repeat that. I just don't think it was a good. I don't think it was a good thing that happened. It's never good when you get a technical. Sometimes you hear even commentators or coaches say we needed that one. I don't think Arkansas ever needs a technical with as few free throws as this team gets, as bad as it is shooting them, and the disparities. I just don't think you can give your opponent anything there. Muss might be reserved at this point. I think someone said he was calm. I haven't seen it yet. I'll be interested to watch it later. But he's a guy, again, that's going to be back to trying to get Arkansas's turnaround. If you remember the 2-4 start in league play, I think it was 2 years ago, Arkansas won, I think scratched out a couple more wins to even their record, or maybe one more before they went on the road against Oklahoma State, I believe, for the Big 12 SEC Challenge, and they lost that game. Yet they came back to league play and started winning again. That was part of 11 straight league wins. We sometimes don't remind ourselves that they actually lost a game in that 11-game league winning streak in the Big 12 SEC Challenge on the road. Shout out to Mikel Mitchell. Mikel Mitchell, man, he battled today after that ankle injury. He sat out the last game. I was under the impression he might be out for an entire week, but he was back on the court today and did some work. In Arkansas, there were opportunities where, let's talk about, because I do think a lot, I'm not saying that Arkansas's fouls aren't legitimate foul calls. I'm just talking about the disparity. So let's talk about some of Arkansas's issues fouling. They would defend so well for most of the shot clock and then bail Baylor out at times with just unfortunate fouls or just not smart plays, attacking the basketball. So you kind of bail a team out. And I thought Arkansas did struggle with that at times. The turnovers, we know. I mean, that's been a problem all season. Arkansas, corrected that in a big way in its 2 home wins against teams that aren't very good. Proud of team today. I don't think there's any reason not to be proud of Arkansas for the way that it played and had a chance to beat a really good Baylor team on its home court. That was a team that came in with 5 consecutive wins, and it beat Kansas, a top 10 team earlier in the week at home. Out next year. Who knows when the ACC and SEC will hook up? We'll see if they try to continue to play that. If there's some word out there on that, I haven't seen it. If they'll continue to play it in the middle of league play like this at the end of January. But I like the comment proud of the team today, because we could talk about the negatives. We can whine about the officials, which I've done. Some of you may think I'm a total homer and disagree. Some of you may think, well, it is what it is. You don't blame officiating on outcomes. I've spent a lot of time on it. But at the end of the day, Arkansas battled. And it's not a great closing team like the 2 previous years were. But those teams still, at this point, weren't necessarily all that good yet. Arkansas beat a West Virginia team at home last year at this time after they righted the ship in SEC play. So we know Arkansas has never won in this challenge on the road, never lost at home. But I don't think either way. I don't think this is a death knell at all for Arkansas's resume. It just but it is. It means the climb is tougher because your margin of error is a little slimmer. You win a game like this, it gives you more margin for error in SEC play. It's slimmer now without this one. Even though it was a great game, Arkansas fell behind 11 early, 19-8, fought back. Yes, Arkansas went on the 11-0 run. I want to go back to that after the technical, put them down 5, a 5-point possession. So there were positives in this game. I thought Baylor came out hot early in the second half, hit 5 of their first 7 shots, cut it down to a 1-point game, went up by 1 shortly after that, and Arkansas put together a little run, went up 4, then Baylor 10-0 to go up 6. Arkansas gets within 1 a couple of times in the last 30 seconds. So it was seesaw, and Arkansas was right there. No, refs have been pitiful. No chance to win this lopsided foul calls every game. I mean, so we can break it down and say, well, Arkansas just fouls a lot. And well, that's true. But again, I keep talking about the way Arkansas plays offensively. They attack. They're not just sitting back, settling on threes all game. And they've got big guys going in. There's a lot of body contact in that paint and around the rim. And it's not just that they're losing the foul battle and the free throw attempts battle marginally. They're getting clobbered in those. Even in these double-digit wins at home against 2 of the worst teams in the league, when you look at the combined free throw attempts, they were almost dead even combined in those 2 games. I think there was a +1 either for Arkansas or +1 for Ole Miss and LSU. I forget which, but they were almost even, and there weren't a lot of them. But in these bigger games against better teams, it is so lopsided, and it's kind of crazy because of the style Arkansas plays. Again, if Arkansas was a finesse team, it might explain some of it. It doesn't make any sense to me. And, when I get to go back and watch them or I see some of the replays, I see some of the same kind of contact, play on at one end. And then on the other end, it's a fast and quick whistle. I mean, Baylor was in the 1-1 5 minutes into the second half. And they'd only committed 1 or 2 fouls, I think, maybe 3 midway through the second half. And Arkansas still wasn't in the 1-1 until 2 seconds left when they hip checked Devo to put him at the line. They wanted him to go shoot the 1-1. So, it's a bit odd because it's not just one game again. It's not an outlier. It has been the biggest theme, I think, in the losing. There's other things playing into it. I'm not just putting it all on that, but it's the biggest problem there. And you got to wonder why that is. It seems very strange to me. And again, I'm not going to say referees are exactly why Arkansas is struggling and can't win on the road. I'm not saying exactly that. I'm saying it may be the biggest part of it, though. Is there a stat where we haven't won a game that Muss has received a tech? Maybe when he's ejected. I mean, yeah, I got to go back and look at that. I'm speaking on that. I know Arkansas's had problems finishing games when they've had technicals from their bench. They may not all have been Muss. I think Gus got one. Was that Missouri? I think in year 1, Hayes Myers got one at South Carolina. Arkansas loses that battle late in the game. Yeah, so there might have been some too that were just coming from that bench. But he's the leader of the bench, so it all falls under him, right? And I'm not sitting here trying to dog Muss. I'm just saying, man, you're in a battle on the road. You're in a battle on the road. You're not a good free throw shooting team. You're not going to shoot as many as your opponent. That's something that's been established to that point. Can't have it. I think Hogs have a chance to flip Ron Holland. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah, this was a great point being made here about the free throw line. Arkansas's teams were excellent at getting to the line. Last year, number 1 in all of Division I in free throws made and attempted. They shot a very good percentage. The previous team was also very good at getting the free throw line. I think top 10, top 6 maybe. This team is not only is it not winning those battles relative to its opposition, Baylor came in as a top 25 team getting there, and one of the better teams making them too, over 74%. But Arkansas is not good at efficiency. They're not good at making them when they do get there. I still think it's crazy, though, they're not getting more free throws the way they play. What am I missing here? There's a lot of contact. I mean, AB looks like he's getting undercut on just about all of his drives. In fact, the first the first what should have been a foul, I thought, early in the game where there was knee contact. Refs can say that that's incidental, but they'll call fouls all the time on trips, incidental contact, and AB was getting into his shot at that point. I think that's a foul, and they missed that. One of Debo's charges in the first half, it was just like the end of that Missouri game. He was contacted by a big on the backside that pushed him into a defender who was waiting on it. They call a charge. So, I mean, Arkansas is dealing with a lot of contact on drives. They drive the ball a lot. Not very many whistles, not very many opportunities to get to the foul line. I just think it's very, again, I'm spending more time on that than I wanted to. I keep going on to it and sounded, kind of like a whiner. It is what it is, man. Arkansas loses again on the road. 0-5 this season. Are they getting closer to winning on the road? It's hard to say that because they seem to find ways, in addition to more than just the foul calling, they seem to, whether it's turnovers. I thought the decisions at the end of the game again on how to play that clock were off. It's not to say that Arkansas would have hit a three if it took one on the second to last possession. It's not to say Arkansas would have hit it, but I think it gave itself a better chance to do that and attack the offensive glass at that point. Try to get one as soon as you can in the clock, attack the offensive glass for a putback and then a foul if you can, and play the game they played, the long game they played at the end. But they didn't do that. It's not hindsight 2020. I thought that was a mistake with as little as clock was left at the time, but Arkansas is not a good three-point shooting team either. So I can understand what Musselman was wanting to do there. It's not like it's 100% wrong. It's just I don't think it was percentage-wise maybe the best play just because of the clock. And he probably felt, we got to get a bucket now. Hope they miss a free throw, so we only need another two. I can understand that. So Arkansas again, you got A&M at home. That's not going to be an easy game. This is an A&M team that's a better defensive team than Baylor. This game in a lot of ways reminded me of 5 years ago in Mike Anderson's last season when Arkansas went on the road. Texas Tech was ranked one of the top teams in the country. Arkansas, I thought, outplayed the Red Raiders, but lost that game by 3. It might have been the identical score. It might have been 67-64. I think it was in the 60s. If it was in the 70s, I'm not sure, but I think it was 60s. That was when Chris Beard was obviously still at Texas Tech and Arkansas had a chance. This game kind of felt like that way, where you felt like, man, if not on the road, this Arkansas might be the better team today, and they just couldn't get over the hump, couldn't get over get over that to get a win. And so today it just continues to really hurt Arkansas, this road resume. It's been so difficult for this team to get to that finish line with smart plays. I think that's what made Musselman's previous team so good. And he even said weeks ago when the slide started that this team was going to have a harder time to finish games than previous teams did. And when you look at turnovers and poor shooting at the free throw line, and let's face it, so it's not that the fouls aren't legit. Most of them are on Arkansas. There's a fouling problem there on top of it. So all those things conspire, right? Those are the things you always hear that you can't do at the end of close games because the other team's going to take advantage of it. Make free throws, don't foul. But Arkansas's, I think there's a good stretch of games here. Once you get, A&M's going to be tough, like I said. That's been a good team in league play. They always seem to lose 3, 4, 5 non-conference games. Look awful, and they get into league play, and they're just trouble for everybody. And they went on the road and had a big win over who did they? They went on the road and I think it was a big win over Auburn recently, and then Auburn lost today at West Virginia. So appreciate you and your coverage of the team. Well, thank you. Also hoping for a Vandy loss tonight. South Carolina might upset Georgia, who's 3-4. A loss today ties us with them. Yeah, so Arkansas can work its way to the middle of the pack here. Beat Texas A&M. You're 4-5. You're close to the middle if you're not there of the pack. And we've seen what Arkansas has done in second half of league play. It could be a situation where Arkansas at minimum, though, here's what I think. You get A&M at home. That's not easy. You got South Carolina on the road Saturday. Then you go on the road to Kentucky. Arkansas really needs to find a way to win 2 of these. That would equal winning at least 1 road game in your first road win of the season. I think for several reasons, as you turn the page to the second half of league play in the final third of your season, you need 2 out of these 3 somehow, some way. And 2 of those games are winnable. Maybe all 3 of them are winnable. Kentucky seems a lot better lately. But again, Arkansas, to me, Missouri and Baylor are really good home teams. not unbeatable at home, but really good home teams. And Arkansas was right there with a chance to win. They just haven't put that winning formula together at the end of games in crunch time. So they've still got to figure that out. Is this an Arkansas team with it? When we start talking again about Nick Smith Jr., I hate to keep doing it because we don't know if he's ever going to really get there to that 100% to play again. But if they get him at some point here in February, I think it just exponentially changes things, because you see teams, even though Baylor didn't shoot the ball well, you saw at times where Keontae George and Cryer, they were both 20 plus today, 24 for George, 20 for Cryer. So they can take game over in stretches. And Arkansas, Ricky Council was one guy doing it. Devo finished with 16. Some of that came at the very end when Arkansas was desperate to get a bucket in. I think he had 5 points in the last minute, but Arkansas doesn't have three-level scores that can have stretches of games where they get your defensive players off balance. Teams know Arkansas needs a drive. They play off. I thought it was a good matchup overall for Arkansas getting to the basket today. Thought they did a good job of limiting threes, only 13. 14 overall counting opinions, but they had to take that one. 13 in the meat of the game. And I thought that was outstanding. I don't know what Arkansas can do. 34 to 22 in the paint. Plus 12 there. I can't figure out how Arkansas is not shooting more than 11 free throws in a game when a team that doesn't play like you do takes 24. They only think about it, Baylor has 5 assists, so it's a lot of one-on-one basketball to get to their 34% field goal shooting. So they get rewarded for a lot of bailouts playing that way, and then the team that's just pounding and attacking, and they're catching their share of contact, can't get there. Okay, I did it again. It just baffles me how it just continues to play like this. And I understand, look, we go on the road, but that happened to Arkansas against Bama at home, too. The second half, it was crazy, the difference. Musselman nearly flipped his lid in that post-press conference talking about him. He kept his calm, but, he was sure to talk about it the best way he could without getting fined. I think Muss needs to start using double screens more when playing against the zone, like in the LSU game. Well, Baylor was a team that uses a lot of action, a lot of double screens on and off the ball, a lot of stuff moving because they want to get somebody out of their defensive integrity to either get a spot-up shot from three or hit somebody rolling, get someone moving in the wrong direction, and then their guards are good enough to shoot over you. We saw a little bit of that today too, but Arkansas did an outstanding job defending. What your comment is about Arkansas offensively, Arkansas is just not a three-point shooting team. When teams play zone defense, it's harder to use the screen game. You can, and you're talking about double screens. There may be a way to scheme some of that more, but this is when you're not a good perimeter shooting team. Some of your screen game, it's just not as helpful. And Arkansas today, as much as Ricky Council started playing one-on-one basketball to kind of get going, and it hasn't worked for him as much in the SEC, it worked for a little bit today, but I thought overall Arkansas did a great job moving the ball, sharing the ball. They had some turnovers on some forced looks and passes, but they also had 16 assists on 27 made baskets. And that limited the other team. Again, you look at Baylor's field goal shooting. If you told anyone that Arkansas was going to hold this number 2 offense in the country and to 34% shooting from the field and 6 of 18 from three, so they make a third less from three than they average per game, and you hold them just a little bit under in their 3-point percentage, and they only have 5 assists in the game, you're going to think that team might have lost that game or probably did. Because this was not a strong, necessarily defensive team in Baylor. Jimmy Dykes said Smith told him the other day that he was still 2 weeks away. Right. And we covered that. Dykes said 2 weeks away. Today it was Franchella saying he wasn't coming back. He didn't see him playing again. And, until he does, he hasn't played in SC. He's played in 5 games, 4, 6 minutes against Troy. And so, hasn't played and didn't finish up December. And obviously against Asheville and Arkansas's final non-conference game before league play. And so now he's missed the rest of the SEC games, all 9 games so far in January. So 10 games total since the last departure, missed the first 6 games. So, we'll see if he comes back. I know he's working toward that. I know it changes everything for Arkansas, because I was just talking about how Baylor had 2 guys that could take the game over a little bit offensively, even in a bad game for you offensively. And Arkansas had rookie counsel today. Even though he did go 2 of 4 from 3, the defense isn't playing him to take that. Defenses can be put on their heels by guys that are 3-level scorers, and that's what Nick Smith Jr. is. Plus, he can facilitate. Plus, he can get to the free throw line in bulk. That's proven, and he shoots over 80% from the line. So there's a lot Arkansas is missing offensively without him. Pissed but reserved. Muss at the press conference, I'm assuming you're talking about. He's got to be frustrated with the officiating, and he's got to be frustrated with his teams. Arkansas is not helping itself with some of those fouls. It's not like they're not it's not like the refs aren't justified in a lot of these calls they're making against Arkansas. It's just they're conveniently swallowing those whistles on the other end. But at the same time, Arkansas is making some really poor fouls, poor decision making at times with turnovers, finishing out defensive possessions, just a lot of stuff there. I think we played good today. Be one of the unluckiest Arkansas teams. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's luck at this point, unlucky at this point when we talk about the same recurring issues and the same outcomes. So it becomes the same movie, and a lot of it's self-inflicted. That's one of the phrases Musselman's love to use this year. And so much of that's true. The reason why I spent so much time on the fouls and the free throw shooting is because even that's not about luck. That's not about luck. That's a decision of these officiating crews are making in game as they go. That's on them. Arkansas can't control that, and it's not bad luck. It's a theme. It's a recurring theme. So it's not just one few bad breaks here and there with calls. It's very, very lopsided. It's very, very strange. Again, I've gone through the reasons why I think it is. So I don't know about unlucky. I think Arkansas is going to make its own luck, and that means you got to. You've got to will your way in these end of game situations to coming out on top. Win each possession at a time. You can't have a lapse. And it got to a point where Arkansas was just a little bit too far behind because it's not a 3-point shooting team trying to get the score back down to one possession at 2 or 1 instead of 3. They ran out of time. The Hogs ran out of time, and really, even though that ball fortuitously whipped out to where Pinion was in that corner, on that deep right corner, it was a bad angle for anybody, but it was still a chance to tie the game and get to overtime. And we keep seeing Arkansas players foul out and or be right on the cusp of fouling out multiple guys. This is just another game. It was Missouri the last time out on the road, and now Baylor. So it's just like it's not about bad luck as much as it is just bad execution at the end of games. In concert with you're just not getting the same kind of calls that you're in. So if you understand that, you got to be even cleaner on the stuff that you're doing wrong. And Arkansas is not doing that right now. I still think this looks like a tournament team. This looked like an NCAA tournament, kind of an atmosphere today. They said it was Baylor's second largest crowd in that arena ever. So you had excitement there. Arkansas fans traveled, I heard.